Hello, Paige.
Hi, can you see me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We are on live
Screen.
and
Okay.
welcome to the Global Virtual Summit 2025. Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Before proceeding to your session, I want to introduce you to our audience, Paige.
You wanted to what?
I want to introduce you to our audience.
I can't understand you. I apologize. My what audience?
No. Before starting your session, I want to introduce you to our audience.
Okay. Thank you. Introduce. That's the word I couldn't hear. Thank you.
Yes. Paige, a third generation Vegas native and early high school graduate with a BSBA from UNLV, is a founder of Vertical Art and Fitness, the first international pole dance lifestyle magazine. She is among the rare few to complete the fourth series of August Ashtanga Yoga. After experiencing profound personal losses and trauma, Paige transformed her pain into purpose through coaching. Her Women's Reset program supports women in healing burnout, restoring nervous system resilience, and leading authentically. Now, for her bold and unapologetic approach, she teaches that when women speak, they don't just lead, they heal. That is a great word, and you have a great bio page, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really honored to be here. And yes, my name is Paige Elizabeth. I'm a speaker.
Yes, Paige, sorry to interrupt, that your voice is not clear.
My voice is not clear.
Yeah, it is very low.
Okay. Let's see. Is this any better? Is that any better? Is this any better? Can you hear me? I'm not really sure what happened. Okay. Well, hopefully you can hear me because I don't know if you can or not. I'm not getting any more feedback on this. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. Can you hear me?
Hello, Paige. Yes, please proceed.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, my name is Paige Elizabeth. I'm a speaker. I wrote the book Leading an Intentional Life. And women primarily, especially high achieving women who feel like they're running on empty, even though from the outside it looks like they have it all. But today is not just about burnout, it's about bravery and what it means to come home to yourself. I want to start by inviting you into a moment of stillness. Close your eyes if it feels safe to do so, and take a deep breath. And bring to mind the one
Hello,
thing.
Paige.
Yes?
Hello. Sorry to interrupt. There may be a technical glitch. I think your voice is very low.
I have done everything to try and make it better. I apologize. I don't know how to make it any better. Hear me? I don't know what else to do. I've tested all the equipment. It sounds fine.
Paige. No, yeah, now it's better.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
Let's
please
start
proceed.
over. Okay, let's start over with that. So I want to start by inviting you into a moment of stillness. Close your eyes if it feels safe to do so, and take a breath. Now bring to mind the one thing that you've always wanted to do, but never really fully gave yourself permission to. Not the thing you should do, but the thing that quietly calls to you. That thing that requires risk. It feels thrilling and yet terrifying at the same time. The desire that feels selfish, inconvenient, or unsafe. Breathe into this for a moment. Now ask yourself this. What would shift in my life if I stopped making choices based on fear or comfort, as we tend to, and started to honor her instead? That deeper, wiser self who always knows exactly what she needs. As you hold this vision, the one that feels too bold or too inconvenient, I want you to take notice. What does your body do when you let yourself desire this thing? Does your chest tighten? Do you hold your breath? Do you start negotiating with yourself, minimizing the experience before it's even spoken? See, this is not failure. This is conditioning. See, the body always remembers where it was not safe to want. So instead of pushing it away, just notice. And now gently place your hands over your heart. And with this vision in mind, I want you to gently move your head backwards and forwards for about 30 seconds. Breathing, inhaling deeply, exhaling completely, and whisper to yourself, I hear you, I see you, I am no longer abandoning you. I release this feeling and belief of fill in the blank with grace and ease. Then take one more deep breath and come back. That was actually an exercise called injury recall technique, and it removes stuck trauma from your vagus nerve. See, this is where healing begins, in the tiny moments where you stop betraying yourself and honoring your truth. Across the globe, women, especially over 35, are quietly burning out. But we don't always call it that. We call it being busy, being tired, or the classic, I'm just being responsible. But beneath the surface, there lies a different truth. According to the American Psychological Association, women are twice as likely to experience anxiety and depression, and nearly 60% of professional women report chronic stress. And yet most suffer in silence. Why? Because we've been conditioned to do two things at once: achieve externally while self-abandoning internally. Even the most accomplished women who I have met still have that one place in their life where they struggle to show up fully. And that being said, I actually want to shift gears because I changed my talk at the last minute to include a personal experience, and I want to integrate that today. See, burnout is something I'm very familiar with. The first time was actually in 2012. My little brother had just died abruptly after a long battle with sleep apnea and self-medicating. He lost the battle. At the time, I was publishing my magazine, and my life fell apart. The second time, the second time was in 2022. I had just wrapped up a 2.5-year litigation against the man who assaulted me. Ultimately, he settled. And I should have known then that I was being prepared for this new role. Assaulted by an older brother-like friend due to his own midlife crisis and psychosis.
only to have defense counsel do everything in their power to shame me for existence. I'll never forget sitting through a 5-hour deposition of 0 questions about the assault, all questions about my integrity, my character, and my right to exist. This is when I realized how many women struggle to stand up and speak out. And I get it. Wow, is the opposition scary? But real opposition, or even your own perceived opposition, is only as terrifying as you would like to make it. That litigation refined my courage, as I had learned to speak for all women who were afraid to confront their perpetrators. Ironically, sometimes we perpetrate beliefs that don't even belong to us. The more they attempted to silence me, the louder that I became, and difficult. All of this happening during COVID, a huge interruption to my business flow, which was still wreaking havoc. I went from being an inspiration to being labeled a non-essential worker. The trauma and low point. So after the settlement, I decided to take a hiatus. I sold my home, I packed up my things, and I took off, starting in Costa Rica for a few months to surf. Here I was thinking this would be my cure, but with no long-term solution and feeling helpless given the international crisis, it only exacerbated everything, throwing me into a state of chaos, the core of burnout. See, burnout is a great way to accelerate aging, which is often the case. Cortisol breaks down healthy tissue like muscle and collagen, causing crepey skin and wrinkles, leaving you with laxity and inflammation as the norm. After my body started giving me signals, I knew it was time. I dove headfirst into recalibration. I called upon every non-allopathic specialist that I knew, and I chose to integrate this silent crisis into my own work, which thankfully led me out of the chaos and into clarity, healing, and recovery. But there were still residual side effects. So, in an effort to close the chapter officially, I decided to do something that most might call radical. I booked a mid-facelift. Yes, cosmetic surgery. And no, I did not do it because I hated myself. I did it because I wanted to preserve my reflection, the face that confronts the world with courage, and it was time to reclaim her. But here's the truth. The morning of the surgery, I almost cried. Not because I was afraid of the pain, but from the weight of the question, am I really doing this? Am I about to permanently change my face? Am I crazy, or is this what coming home looks like now? You see, for years I had the subconscious belief that the more I achieved, the less space I had to be human. Therefore, feeling untouchable. That being a leader meant being invulnerable. That taking care of my body, even this way, was indulgent, not intelligent. But what if reclaiming your image is the most radical act of self-respect? Because I wasn't trying to erase my age. I was trying to honor the woman who'd earned every line, every scar, and every lesson. I was asking the mirror to meet me where I currently was, not where the world expected me to be. And that was a little terrifying. Because who would I be without the mask of resilience? Who would I be if I actually gave myself what I wanted? Because here's what most people don't realize. Even as someone who's had surgery before, and I did go back to a doctor that I had worked with previously who'd become like a friend, it still felt different. This operation was definitely a risk. There was no refund, no guarantee, no going back. And as clear and as action-oriented as I consider myself to be, it still wasn't convenient. There was no ideal time to do this. It interrupted my life, my work, and my plans. The internal judgment was loud. do you really need this? Is this just vanity? And what if it doesn't go well? But something inside me knew this wasn't about the face. This was about what I had been holding inside. Because transformation doesn't always look light-filled and intuitive in a field of butterflies. Sometimes it starts on the operating table, swollen, surrendered, and unsure. But here's what I didn't expect. Because as soon as I opened my eyes, I could breathe. Literally, my first thought when I woke up was, I don't need my congestion meds. The sinus congestion I'd lived with for years was gone instantly. Later, I realized that tension in the midface affects lymph flow, nerve function, and breath. But there's more. See, back in October, I went in for a Botox touch-up, and it got in my ocular nerve and botched it, leaving me with blurry vision most mornings. This also gone. My doctor's response, well, if you move things around there enough, you'll wake up the ocular nerve. Thanks, doc. And lastly, my throat. After cutting the platysmal bands, I've never felt more open. No more stuck words, no more effort to speak. My goodness, those bands, after 20 years of Ashtanga yoga and intense power strength of pushing through. I was so excited to reintegrate speaking again into a post-COVID world, but all I could see were the lines and the tension and the stress from the burnout. It's as if my body had been silently holding everything in I didn't say, and every time I pushed through instead of pausing, every time I smiled instead of speaking. And when I gave my body permission to release it, it did. There are 3 pillars to my work: body, mind, and spirit. This is what burnout really looks like. It's not laziness, it's not lack of ambition, but the cost of ignoring what your body already knows. Burnout is not having too much on your plate. Burnout is the relationship to your reality. And that's why healing can't just be one of these aspects, it must be all 3. The mind, which encompasses our habits and our beliefs. See, we've been taught to overfunction, people please, self-abandon, seek approval, outsource validation, and to reject our inner wisdom. Those patterns become normalized until it feels like a badge of honor, until exhaustion feels like a badge of honor. Cortisol runs high for 2 reasons. Number 1, no solution. Number 2, no action. No solution is when you juggle everything in your mind because you haven't taken the time to create a plan for change. And no action is when you kind of already know what you need to do, but you refuse to change, typically because of uncertain consequences. So in real time, this looks like, I'm fine. It's fine. I got this. It'll be okay, right? Or you'll basically, again, outsource to the universe or to your circumstances, waiting to be acted upon, taking no responsibility for the initiation needed to create the change. And this is why time off does not actually cure burnout. It's a Band-Aid for a situation that requires resolution. The body, physiology, and trauma. See, chronic stress isn't just emotional, it becomes physiological dysregulation, HPA dysfunction, which stands for hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenal, which leads us to adrenal fatigue and hormonal chaos. In the US, our healthcare system often misses this, or worse, gaslights it. When cortisol spikes initially, we live in a place of fight or flight, comprised of hypervigilance or a feeling of, what didn't I do? What's going to go wrong? We are insecure and we are anxious. Then we crash into freeze or fawn, which looks like apathy, numbness. What's the point? Let's face it, terms like aging, perimenopause, and menopause are not solutions. They're labels, and not even good ones at that. They have essentially become the rugs that we sweep our symptoms under. And trauma. Trauma is not what happens to you, it's how you relate to what happens. So for example, someone who posts online and perceives the feedback as bullying is going to perceive that as trauma or receive that as trauma, whereas somebody else might see that feedback as just validation that they're doing something right. So it's all about perception. When COVID happened and I was constantly told that I was a non-essential worker, it affected me. It shut me down. And I lost my voice during this time, and it was very, very, very difficult for me to find it again. And lastly, spirit, or relationship to oneself. And this is where we learn to nurture and fill our cup. Because when we disconnect from our intuition and truth, we leak power. Speaking truth is not just empowering, but it does recalibrate the nervous system. It restores coherence, and it builds self-trust. Why does speaking heal? Well, firstly, it acknowledges. So it recognizes that energy that is stirring around inside us, needing to come out, needing to be seen. Number two, it validates. See, we don't speak for others to hear us. We speak to hear ourselves. When you show up and speak, you're talking on behalf of the little girl who couldn't. Number three, it releases, which regulates that nervous system, taking you from fight or flight or sympathetic dominance back to a nice, easy parasympathetic flow. And lastly, it integrates, helping you to become a more authentic and congruent you. So here's my invitation to you right now. Take a mental inventory. Where am I still performing instead of being? What is my body whispering that I keep ignoring? And what truth have I been afraid to speak out loud or even to myself? You don't need to fix it all today. You just need to notice. Awareness is the first act of self-trust, because if you can name it, you can heal it. And here's the real miracle of this whole thing. The surgery didn't give me a new face. I am only 3 weeks out, by the way. It gave me back the woman I had lost. Not because I was trying to project perfection, but because I loved her enough to honor her reflection. Again, we do not speak up to please others. We speak up to reclaim ourselves. When you take bold action, whether it be setting a boundary, making a change, or choosing something radical, it's not to meet expectations. It's to drop them. And that's not selfish. That's sacred. That's what I call coming home to you. So if you're standing at the edge of a decision, one that feels terrifying, inconvenient, or irreversible, ask yourself this: am I ready to stop outsourcing my power? Am I ready to stop betraying myself to stay palatable? Because real leadership does not come from performance. Leadership is a feminine default. It doesn't require permission. And how can you expect to connect with your audience if you are not connecting to yourself? This is also something to be taken completely as your divine right. And imposter syndrome as well will always plague you if you project who you think you're supposed to be while continuing to silence who you really are. Healing does not happen because you do what's expected. It happens because you finally do what's true. And it's only controversial to those who need you to abandon yourself. So may you choose to feel what's aligned over what feels acceptable. May you disappoint others if it means you no longer abandon yourself. And may your life become a reflection of your truth, not your conditioning. If you seek peace of mind, confidence, well-being, integration, and harmony, then please know this: when women speak, they heal. When they stop waiting for the world to validate them, and they validate themselves, they come home. And that is your revolution. And it begins the moment that you decide as your freedom is on the other side of the courage of what you're afraid to do. So beautiful ladies, may you have the courage to show up, to speak, and to heal. Thank you. I guess now it's time for questions. All right, let's see. I've got some questions here I'm looking at. How can leaders
Yes, but thank you so much for your presentation. That was truly inspiring. You have a really inspiring journey. And
Thank you.
we got a few questions from our audience. I want to ask you one of them.
Okay.
Yeah. How can we create safe spaces for women to speak?
So the thing about safety is we tend to think it's an external thing. It's really not. It's an internal thing. So when you learn to create internal safety, it doesn't matter, right? So your filter by which you see reality is no longer questioning, is it okay? Is it safe? Is it appropriate? Will they like it? When you shift that relationship to yourself, it's, do I want to? Do I like this? You know, what should I say? Like the questions change, and you no longer are concerned about an external safety because you've already learned to go to bat and show up for yourself internally. Does that make sense?
Yes, what you said is absolutely correct. And thank you so much for your presentation. You are really inspiration to many women out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And be on the backstage and please join the next session.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.